This video is going to show you how to load a feature collection and then filter by attribute. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the snippet and make sure I have a space to put it in. And so there it is. We're going to try to isolate the Champlain lowlands. So I've given you the first part where we're going to create a container called region, and we're going to use this EE feature collection method that if you look over here, it's just a way of constructing a feature collection from essentially a string that's assumed to be the name of a collection. We're using this one. So I've given you the string because it's a data set that I have on a repository I curate for conservation work in New England. And so if we just print step one and do something like print region and hit run, you'll see, it's not going to like this one, so let me just comment that out. You'll see that we'll get this feature collection that has 13 features in it. Um, and then it's sometimes handy to say like region first and hit that because that's going to give you just the first feature in the list. And if you look at the properties, um, this is the column. So let's go ahead and look at this before we talk more about that. So I'm going to say map add layer region. And the one bit about um, vector data in Earth Engine is rather than when you define the viz parameters, right? We've got this is the data that we want to show on the map. This is the viz parameters. And when it's vector data, you say color rather than palette. And I talked about that, I'm sure, previously, but that's what that is about. And then these are going to be the kind of the ecoregions. Um, and then I'm going to say false, and I'm going to do this kind of each time so that it doesn't display automatically when we run this. So if I hit run, um, you should get up here in Vermont, not much, but if we go ahead and turn it on, you'll see there are the ecoregions. And so um, there's a couple of things that we could do here. We want to be able to grab this one, and we're going to try to grab it by name. So we could grab the inspector and click on this and see that that is feature one, and it's called the Champlain Lowlands. But a piece of code that I use a lot when I'm first working with a feature collection is this. I'm going to say region dot aggregate array parentheses, and then I'm going to kind of copy this name here. I'm going to put it in quotes. And if I then say run, it's going to list all of the attributes that are in this column USL name. So basically what I've gotten here is for each feature, it's gone through and told me what the attribute is. So it's giving me the set of possible attributes in the property or column USL4 name. Is that fair? And that's the level 4 ecoregion name. Um, what you can do if any of these wind up repeating, which they don't, there are ways to fix it. Sometimes this is a little bit of that Easter egg hunt without the fun or the candy because it's not alphabetized. So you can add something like sort, and that's going to alphabetize the list, which makes it a little bit easier to find sometimes. And so there it is. We're after Champlain Lowlands. Is that fair? So I use this aggregate array and then sorting it. Another thing I often do is just to say distinct in here. So if there are more than one instance of this attribute, it's only going to show it to me once. It doesn't really come into play here. But you'll see that whenever you want to get a quick list of all of the distinct attributes that are stored in a feature collection column, this is the move right there. Is that fair? And so now what we want to do again is we have all 13 of these from 0 to 12 shown, and I want to grab just that Champlain Valley. So to filter by attribute, I'm going to first call a filter, and then I'm going to use a filter. So the idea is that the first step under feature collection is to use filter, and filter takes a filter. And so then you got to feed it a filter. And so then if you go here, what we're after is this this filter that is about equal, EQ. Don't worry, equals, not so good. EQ is what we're after. And it's going to take the name, which is like the column name, and then a value as the arguments. So if we type in here, EE filter equal, or sorry, EQ, and then parentheses, now we just have to feed it the name of the column name or the property name, and then the specific attribute that we're after. So remember when I went and I copied from here, I copied this, and that thing you're going to want, because that's the column name that we want to kind of search under. And then this is the instance in that column that we want to filter for. Is that fair? And then there's a bunch of parentheses here, but it's because you're doing this, close parentheses, and then after you load the feature collection, you're going to then throw it through this filter, and the filter is hungry for a specific filter, and then this equal filter is hungry for the property name and the specific attribute name. So then if you say run, hopefully this will all be happy. And if I go to here, we should now just have the Champlain Valley. Is that fair? So that's basically the idea of this line loads, this line filters. And we could do this as two separate variables, but what we're doing here is an example of chaining, where it's like first do this, and then do this, and this is an argument for the second method. Is that fair? So rather than storing the intermediary step as a variable, we're just kind of chaining and kind of saving a mini workflow. So I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to go on to the next one.